a goniometer, a tape measure, or what's called a cervical range of motion device. If, almost all outpatient ortho clinics have said device because it's so crazy easy. Okay? Aren't you glad you volunteered?
Yeah.
I'll make sure you turn around so you can look. Everyone else can see you.
No, do a profile picture.
So what I'm going to do is put these on like a pair of glasses. So I'm going to hand those to you.
Okay. Oh,
Good. Very cute. Very becoming. Very becoming.
wow.
You guys who just graduated love these things. So he wore them for like a week. Just a
Like his
what he
own.
wore them through.
Or these ones.
Well, not this particular pair. We have one I've got stuck in the box, so I do apologize to you.
Okay.
Okay, there you go.
Don't, does it look
Don't
good?
listen to that. No one's worn it better.
Should have gotten a different color.
So for cervical range of motion, it's going to be very, very important the person's posture. So a couple of you commented about that on Tuesday's OLA, that you really appreciated that if they're in a really awkward posture, that's going to influence your range of motion. That's also going to be extremely true for cervical. So typically we don't have them sit with their backs supported. Would have your feet supported. I know it's a little bit high for you. So the neutral position is we want the shoulders over the hips and the ears over the shoulders. So Keegan, is she lined up?
Yeah.
So she's close. This is certainly lined up, but I would like to see her head a little bit there. Okay? So she had a little bit of her head was a little bit forward, and now I've just brought it back a little bit so that we can now draw a straight line. Okay? Now, this should put, so this one is an inclinometer, so gravity just keeps that needle pointing straight down. Okay? And so it's at 0. So, Kelsey, what I'd like you to do is bring your chin to your chest. And then I can read this number and go ahead and come back up. So she moved 0 to 42 degrees. And the norms for the CROM are in your notes. Okay? Now for extension, we're going to stay on this one. I'm going to make sure she's still aligned. Now what I'd like you to do, Kelsey, is look up towards the ceiling as high as you can. Good. And she's at 62. Go ahead and come back down. So 0 to 62 for extension. But do you see how easy that is? Mm-hmm. So you want to make sure, well, for me, I don't have to do anything. So I have to make sure she's at 0. Now, one thing I didn't mention is goniometry for the cervical spine. We typically don't measure passive range of motion. We only measure active range of motion. Okay? When you have a patient in supine, you can get an idea of end feels, but you're really looking at multiple joints. So you're just looking to see what's restricting a motion. So I will move the neck to the extremes of motion in supine to get a feel for the end feel, but I don't take any measurements of passive range of motion. Okay? For lateral flexion, we're going to use this center inclinometer. It's exactly the same as the first, except oriented perpendicularly. So for this one, I would stand here. Hi. You look lovely. I'm going to have you bring your left ear to your left shoulder without lifting your left shoulder up. Okay, so you're just going to tilt your head. Okay, and she's at 36 degrees. And now I'm going to have you do the same thing to your right. Oh, you're smudged? Well, come on back up. 36. So one of the things you want to watch for the lateral flexion is people may combine flexion and lateral flexion and rotation. So you want to make sure that it's a straight plane motion. Okay? Now for the rotation, we're going to use the compass that's on the top. So I'm going to actually have you climb down here and have a seat in the chair. Oh, sorry. Okay. So in this position, I'm going to turn this until it says 0, because I can't change where north is. Right? Now, if you are in a shielded building, so if you're in a hospital, you can actually put these weights on their shoulders, which will cause the compass, their metal, so they're going to cause the north to shift with these. Okay, so I would just put them on her shoulders like this, and then strap them in the front, and that would cause north to go backwards. Okay, this building is not shielded. We're lucky it's a roof, so you don't need to use these, but that's what these are for. Okay. Okay, so I have her at 0, and this will spin to line that up. And then I'm going to have you, what I'd like you to do is keep your body as still as possible. And actually, let's have you sit forward in the chair. There you go. And then I'm going to have you rotate your head without rotating your body. I'm going to have you come back. I didn't get you lined up. Someone might think you study a lot. There you go. Okay, now go ahead and turn. Okay, and she's at 56. Go ahead and come back. And now I'm going to have you look over your right shoulder. And she's at 72 on that side. Okay? So that's how you would use the CROM. So pretty easily you can get all 6 motions of the cervical spine without a lot of difficulty. Okay? All right, I'm going to have you, unless you want to keep it on, I'm going to have you take it off, but your hair is all stuck in the Velcro, so sorry. It's okay.
For our exam, are we good to use those?
Yep.
Yes.
Yep.
Okay.
Sweet.
I hope I get that.
Okay, so we've got 4 of these for you to practice with. Okay. I'm going to have you come back up and sit at the end of the table facing this way. So I'm having her sit this way so that you can see the goniometer placement. The other thing that we can do is measure flexion and extension, well, all 6 motions with a goni, okay? For flexion and extension, the stationary arm is going to be going straight up and down, okay? The axis is going to be on her earlobe, and we're going to line this arm up with the bottom of her nose. Okay, so, sorry. Go ahead and relax your lower back a little bit. Okay, so I have her here, still pulling her hair. Now, again, it's silly to ever believe that there's a single axis for cervical motion, right? It's happening in 8 different joints. Actually 16 if you can include the facets on both sides. So we have her in this position, and I have it lined up. Now I'm going to position her so that 90 degrees is 0. Okay? Alright, now what I want you to do is go ahead and bring your chin to your chest for me. Okay. And my ear gonies stinks. So it's 0 to 17 degrees. It's so loosey goosey. If you don't grab it, it's okay.
So is that 0 to 45?
Yeah, she's not flexing a whole lot.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, and then we would do the exact same positioning. Okay, and then go ahead and come back. Whoa, that was so not straight up and down. Okay, go ahead and relax. So she went 10, 20, 30, 40, 57 degrees. Okay, she went from here to here. All right. So that is flexion and extension. For lateral flexion, I'm going to have you face this way now. Oh, sorry. We're going to add a little hurdling practice for you. And I'm just going to pull your hair to your side. So we need to find C7. Which is here. That's going to be our axis. Our vertical arm, our stationary arm is going to be straight up and down. The moving arm is going to bisect Kelsey's head. And Kelsey, I'm going to have you bring your left ear to your left shoulder. Okay, and relax. Sorry. Oops. Jeez Louise. So that's 10, 20, 30, 40 degrees. Okay? Now, and then I could do that to the other side as well, right? For rotation, I'm going to have you come have a seat in the chair again. Come up front here. Good. So the stationary arm is going to make a straight line across her acromia, okay? And then the moving arm is going to bisect her head this way. If you can't see down at your goni, you need to get up higher, okay? But I would never do rotation with someone on the table, okay? Okay, and I'm gonna have you turn to your left, please. Okay, and relax. And pull your hair a little more. Wow, you keep coming up to round numbers. They're not gonna believe me, I'm actually measuring. 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 65 degrees. Okay, and then I could do the same to the other side with a goniometer. Okay? Does anyone have their tape measure?
Which one is like the gold standard or like the best?
So there is no best because it's a very crude measurement because we're not getting motion at a single joint. We're getting motion at all of these joints. So I put very little value in these measurements. I care much more about the quality of movement than I do the amount of movement. The problem is insurance companies want these numbers. So my clinic has CROMs, so I would use a CROM because you can see how long it takes me to set up the goni, and with a CROM you're done in 2 minutes for data that I don't personally value a whole lot, and so I'm just doing it to get it done. What do you use to measure cervical range? The tape? Okay. So I'm gonna have you sit back up here.
Do most places have their CROMs?
So it totally depends. If you are in a sports medicine clinic, they may not, because they may be treating more extremities than people with extremity problems than people with spinal problems. If you're in a spine clinic where they specialize in treating people with spines, absolutely, they're going to have the CROMs. So, you know, if you're working in a skilled nursing facility that also treats outpatients, they're not going to have it.
Okay.
So, okay. So for the tape measure method, you're going to go from the tip of the mandible down to the suprasternal notch. Okay, and this is going to be in centimeters down to a tenth, and it's going to be a difference measure again, what you document. Okay, so nice job. Is this yours, Stephanie? Which was this? Courtney. It's not a very nice one. Did it come in your kit?
Yeah.
Oh, great. I wouldn't put it hanging that long because of the obvious. I'll fake it until I make it. Okay, so with her at rest, I'm going to put my hand here, and I'm going to be right there. So her resting position is 12.3 centimeters. Okay, go ahead and bring your chin to your chest. Now I'm going to try to keep my finger on her chin so it doesn't change. And now she's at, and go ahead and relax. Oh, she's at 6 centimeters. So I would document 6.0 3 centimeters for cervical flexion. Okay, because you document the difference. When we do range of motion with the tape, we don't document a range of motion. We've indicated the range by saying how much she's moved. Okay, for extension, it would be the exact same thing. Okay, so same landmarks, measuring the difference, just having her go in the opposite direction. Now for lateral flexion, you're going to find the mastoid. Can you sit up nice and straight for me? Is your neck straight? Are you compared to Rebecca? Yeah, I think you're trying to help me. Then you're going to come out to the lateral aspect of the acromion. So I'm at 20.2, and go ahead and bring your ear to your shoulder. Yeah, towards me, please. Good question. And she's at 15.4. Okay, it's really 15.2, but you guys are going to stop believing that I'm actually measuring. So you do that math and come up with a difference.
You said that was what to the acromion?
So the lateral aspect of the acromion to the mastoid.
Oh,
Okay. Now for rotation, we're going to use the tip of the mandible out to the lateral acromion. Okay. So we're here, and we're here. Oops. There we go. Okay, so I'm at 24.6. Go ahead and come towards me. I didn't do a very good job of keeping my location. I'm at 14.1. So again, I would subtract those two, and that would be my rotation. Okay, so for tape, flexion and extension is the tip of the mandible down to the suprasternal notch. Okay, this one and this one. For lateral flexion, it's mastoid to lateral acromion, okay, going towards. For rotation, it's the tip of the mandible to the lateral acromion turning towards. Right? For goniometry, for flexion and extension, the axis, the stationary arm is in line with gravity, perpendicular to the floor. The moving arm goes from the axis, which is the earlobe, to the nasion, okay, at the bottom of the nose. And you're going to do flexion and extension. For lateral flexion, you're going to have the axis at C7, the moving arm bisecting the head, the stationary arm going along the spine. For rotation, you're on the top. You're lining the stationary arm up with a line in between the acromia. The axis is in the middle of the head, bisecting the head, and then the moving arm bisects the head this way. Okay? And then the crom, you just put it on. Just know which inclinometer to read. Okay? All right.